Alright guys, we're here with the Salty Dogs today. We caught a few bonitas the other day and it's time to make them into strip baits. You can't let any of these bonitas go to waste. This is gold out there. So we're gonna turn this into this and I'll show you how. When you're cleaning these bonitas, you're gonna have a razor sharp knife, like cutting the hairs off your arm sharp, or else it's just not gonna work. It's gonna look torn, it's not gonna look clean like those ones we showed earlier. So what I do is I kind of act like I'm making a slice. I'll act like I'm actually slicing off the tip of that stone. Both sides, make sure you do an even angle all the way through to the tip, because the tip's sometimes the most important as far as starting and ending a cut. We're gonna cut them all into slabs and then we'll thin them out here in a second. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking all the meat down and I'm making it nice and thin so I get a nice thin strip out of it. So I'm taking this big giant fat fillet and turning it into pretty much skin with a little tiny bit of meat on it. I'd say about a 1/4 inch of meat. Guys, make sure your cutting surface is super clean when you're doing this. You gotta make sure there's no what you call speed bumps in there. It's only going to hinder your knife, it's only going to hinder your strip cutting. So make sure there's no stuff on top of the table that mess you up. Make sure you save all your other trimmings and stuff. You know, mahi season's right around the corner. Summertime's here. Yellowtail, any of that will eat this fresh bonita. Don't let it go to waste. Give me a little chunk pie. Alright guys, once you get your bonita strip shaved down, bonita side rather, shaved down, I like to do, you don't want to do this too much because you make the baits wash out quicker. I'll just run the knife kind of just like that, a little bit of an angle, make sure everything's nice and even. And then I'll cut the back off and that'll be where you start your strip. Very important to go with the grain. I don't know if you guys can see that on the video, but the grain of the meat is going this way. So you're gonna want your bait to troll with the head here and the tail there, so not to wash out. We got all our slabs all thinned down. I got about 8 slabs at 4 fish, so 8 slabs. Pretty slab right there. I'll show you how to cut your first strip. What I like to do is I'll bevel the knife, get a nice bevel, make sure it's nice and sharp. Pass it a couple times. Even amount of times, don't do it uneven. If you do one on this side, you got to do one on that side. Alright, so you got your nice strip. What I'll do is I'll bevel that edge, nice bevel on that. I'll come back and bevel on the other side. Beautiful trolling wahoo strip. Guys, when I'm cutting my strips, I'm always putting them on a nice pan. I'll put a paper towel over the pan and I'll put the skin side down. You know, I want all that nasty old, goopy water to drain off there. You don't want that on your strips when you're going to seal them up, because they'll freeze like that and they'll get all icy and kind of just not as good. So make sure they're nice and dry, decently dry. They're still gonna have a little bit of moisture to them, but always put the skin side down so not to really suck all the moisture out of the meat side. So skin side down, paper towel, little pan, that'll work. When you're cutting strips, that makes all the difference. Alright guys, we're getting it done. We got a bunch of strips cut. We got a couple more slabs to make into strips. We got a bunch of dolphin bait for later in the summer. I'm just gonna kind of show you what I do to cut what I think is my perfect strip. So I like to lay it down flat, make sure there's nothing up underneath of it that's gonna kind of create a speed bump for the knife. And what I'll do is I'll actually trim it up nice and good. That side, make sure it's nice and beveled. And I like to start way beyond the fillet there, just so I can get that knife ingrained in the board itself and kind of find like a little track, like an ice skate. And I'll actually come down there, not too much of a bevel, but enough to make it look just about like that. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're trolling for these big wahoos down here in South Florida. That with a sea witch is a second to none bait. What I do after cutting a strip, so I got my slab. Obviously you're cutting a little bit of a half moon shape on the one side, so you're gonna end up with a half moon shape on your slab. To clear that out, I'll just take my knife, nice light bevel, and clear that out and get it back to kind of a blank canvas. So I'm ready to cut my next strip. So it comes out perfect every time. Last but absolutely not least, you gotta seal your strips up. I use a Food Saver vacuum sealer. It's the most cost efficient one. The ones that are commercial grade are obviously a little better, but they're thousands of dollars, just a $200 unit. And it's absolutely imperative if you wanna have fresh strips. Caught these Bonitas 2 days ago, let them sit on ice for 2 days. We're gonna put 5 strips to a pack, so not to overload the pack. You don't wanna go on a fishing trip where you use 5 strips, you know, unfrozen. You wanna be able to take them out as you use them. So make sure they're nice and square in there. If they're straight in the bag, they're gonna be straight when you pull them out. Just try to keep everything symmetrical and straight when you're doing this. This is how I put them in my bag, nice and tight. We're gonna put this in the vacuum sealer and we'll stow them away in the deep freezer for when we need them. Now that's me finished product. Nice red Bonita strips. Anything in the world will eat this. Well, anything that lives under the ocean will eat this, is what I mean. Guys, it really doesn't matter what kind of boat you're on, what kind of tackle you got, what kind of lures you got. If you're pulling garbage bait, you're not gonna get bit. If you're pulling fresh bait, you're gonna get bit. And a lot of times that planer will trip. You know, you see that planer trip and the rod stand up, oh, he missed it. You know, you gotta reset that planer, because if he's chewing on half that beautiful fresh red strip, he's gonna be looking for the other half of that thing. You're gonna wanna reset that planer and get that thing right back in the fish's face. Woo. All right, guys, here they are. Fresh, hot off the press, strips for days. Wahoo candy, baby.